What's up, guys? So sorry for the janky lighting. Um, so it's been a year since I started this channel. I didn't start it with the intention of, making a lot of money or anything like that. I'm still not monetized yet, so I'm doing this purely for the fans. I'm joking. I only have like a few subscribers. But when I first started it, I started the video, well, the channel rather, on something controversial, which was saying fuck the Ukraine. And guess what? It's a year in since I started the channel, and guess what I still say? Fuck Ukraine. And it seems that the mainstream media is catching up to a lot of my gripes about the Ukraine, and I'll spout them uh, briefly. But just to let you know, the stuff that I rant about on these videos, this is never this is never me just um, saying random stuff. Rather, it's me just talking about stuff that I've been coming across in the news. And I'm not one of those people that only look at the dark recesses of YouTube and other social media for my news content. Um, I look at mainstream media, even though I often complain about mainstream media, I tend to consume a lot of information from it because it's verified, such as the Associated Press and Reuters. So I get articles from, the Washington Post, since I live in the DMV area, and also New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Boston Globe, the Chicago Sun, LA Times, and so forth. You know, mainstream sources of printed media as well as digital media. I also am a member and subscriber to the Skeptical Inquirer, produced by the Center for Inquiry, which has a lot of um, big hitters in the intellectual world, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Steven Pinker, and some of those folks might be controversial to those on the right. When it comes to information, especially scientific or academic information, I don't I don't choose political sides because usually the information may come out one way or the other, but if it's already chosen by a certain side, then sketchy. But in any case, so finally, the New York Times has admitted something that I said last year on my channel, which that the Ukraine army has Nazis in it. So, but it's more widespread than what I thought, though. So I knew there was a whole Azov battalion, which had not had a Nazi ideation, and I even spoke of how gross it was that they had the Jewish comedian um, from the Daily Show, Jon Stewart, giving a medal to one of these Ukrainian soldiers who had a Nazi tattoo on him. And I'm like, really? This is what the US and the UN are doing? And it's like they got such a huge stick up their butt about Russia that they're willing to oversee or overlook rather the fact that the Ukrainians have Nazis, and a lot of them didn't want to admit it because they thought it fed into Russian propaganda. Because when the attacks first started, Russia said they wanted to denazify the Ukraine, and people saw that was just propaganda as being an excuse for them attacking the Ukraine. And so, as I promised a few seconds ago, here are my gripes with the Ukraine. One is the Nazi ideation. That's a fact. And the New York Times admitted it recently in an article, although they tried to make excuses for it and say, well, maybe they just reappropriated these symbols. They weren't necessarily Nazi symbols and stuff like that. Come on. Or another gripe was that during the attacks, by Russia when people were trying to flee the country, they were actually trying to limit um, the Black African as well as East Indian people from leaving the country. Um, Even worse, they were trying to conscript some of these African soldiers to fight in the Ukrainian army, even though they weren't even Ukrainian citizens. So that was another thing. Then I got mad at the fact that American mainstream media was saying, we need to support these people because these people are like us. And I was like, oh, I wonder why that's the case. And no, they said the some of those journalists, some of them who resigned, but they said the silent parts all out that they look like white Americans, and that's why we need to support them. Because at the same time that the conflict was going on in Ukraine, you had stuff popping off in Yemen, Afghanistan, in the Sudan, along the Indian border with China. Um, you had stuff going over in Latin America, and so it was pockets of violent confrontations over the globe. But this is the one thing that Americans and with their money and with our military support should be backing is the Ukraine, because hey, they're white like us, not us, but like the majority of white Americans. So I'm like, yeah. So you guys are saying the silent part out loud, okay? Then fuck Ukraine and fuck you for supporting them. And and then, like I said, the whole then and then it got even worse when we found out that basically the media was lying on behalf of Ukraine, saying that the Russia's attacks on them were unprovoked. Ukraine provoked those attacks. They had like you can. It's a long chain of events of who poked the bear first when it comes to Ukraine and Russia. But in the immediate aftermath of the attacks of Ukraine by Russia, they weren't unprovoked, because Ukraine had prior to that invaded um, a contested part of that region that both Russia and Ukraine claim. So, well, to be more specific, I think it was still a part of Ukraine, but it was but they were mostly Russians. Well, people who were ethnically Russian or Russian supporters and wanted to be a part of Russia. So, in any case, it wasn't unprovoked. So you had all these lies, all this other stuff going on, and that's why I said fuck Russia. And the fact that the Ukrainian people are openly racist, I'm like fuck them. Like no, and I stand on that. But yeah, they have Nazi ideation going on, but it's beyond just the Azov battalion. To get back on that, the whole Azov battalion are Nazi supporters, but the Nazi ideation spreads beyond that, like throughout uh, 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 a significant portion of the Ukrainian um, population has like Nazi symbols, um, like openly showing, uh, or ideation. And when this was first exposed, yeah, there was a Nazi battalion, the Azov battalion, and Nazi symbols being plastered around different parts of the Ukraine. Our media here tried to make up excuses saying, well, maybe they're just a bit right wing, but they're not like neo Nazis. No, they're neo Nazis, clearly. So on the anniversary, not of this date, but I think the anniversary of my channel was like actually a week or so ago. Sorry guys, I wasn't on the button with that, but yeah, on the anniversary of this channel, I'm just gonna, reiterate, fuck the Ukraine and fuck our government for continuing to throw billions of dollars to them while people here are suffering under massive debt and so forth. Like, oh, we can't pay off student loans and stuff like that, but we can send them millions of dollars of military support, which can possibly piss off the Russians to the point where we kick off World War III. So we'll see. And, for the people who are still trying to sign up to go over to the Ukraine, go right on ahead. Because they are still probably accepting people from other countries to come in there and fight for them. I know it's got to be disappointing to Russia, the fact that, a year into this conflict, they couldn't, like, kick Ukraine's ass. But hey, I'm pretty sure the Imperial Army thought they could beat up on a bunch of teddy bears on the moon of Endor too. Not exactly analogous, but you get the point. For those who know your Star Wars and Return of the Jedi references. But in any case, I'm not saying necessarily the Russians are evil and the Ukrainians are innocent. That's not my point. I'm just saying that um, many times these little invasions aren't as easy as you might think. And I'm pretty sure China has been studying this pretty thoroughly. And I'm not beating up on China here. Love China. You know what I'm saying? I wish to come there, guys. If any Chinese government folks are watching, ni hao. But I'm pretty sure the over there, they're studying what's going on between Russia and Ukraine and deciding what moves they might or might not make as far as their differences with Taiwan. So I've been to Taiwan, but now I want to go to mainland China and see what's up. So like I said, I'm not gonna say on here where I fall on that, but this video's too long. Just wanted to say fuck Ukraine, and thanks for people who've been actually here watching for the whole year that I've had this channel up. Again, once it gets monetized, you're gonna see some Lucasfilm upgrades. I promise you that. But until then, just doing this just for the few folks who kept telling me I should start a YouTube channel. So I did. And I'm just a contrarian, guys. Go Terps.